Kotuya everyone. Thank you so much for checking out my channel and this video series on Charles Soule's Light of the Jedi. My name is John and I am a Star Wars scholar. I create content for Star Wars fans like you and me by discussing things like plot, themes, philosophy, styles, and everything else that makes Star Wars so amazing. My hope is to offer you engaging videos with stuff that we both love, and I really hope that you take a moment to engage with me back. In this video, I offer my thoughts on the opening crawl, so let's get to it. Interestingly, the opening crawl is not a traditional opening crawl in the Star Wars sense. There is no typical 3-paragraph structure, but instead just over a single page of prologetic information. Perhaps the author wants to separate this story from the era of Star Wars we all know and love, and did not give a traditional crawl, but still gave us something that feels like Star Wars. Regardless, I'm going to call this part of the book the opening crawl for a lack of a better term. The opening sentence is both bold and ambiguous. Insofar as this opening crawl is educational and intended for a reader who knows nothing or very little about Star Wars, this sentence gives the broadest description of the Star Wars galaxy. So, if you want to understand the Star Wars galaxy in its most general and important terms, then you need to understand what the Force is and how the Force manifests itself. This sentence is a beautiful and brief statement to introduce Star Wars to a new generation of fans, both in general and in particular to the story. But insofar as this first sentence is meant to educate readers who generally understand the Star Wars universe, it announces that the Force will be central to the upcoming story, and perhaps to the High Republic era as a whole. And for those of us who live and breathe Star Wars, this opening sentence is truly bold. It announces that this story, set in a brand new era in our favorite galaxy far, far away, is going to be very different in certain aspects. Instead of mystical space wizards with laser swords mouthing pieces of wisdom on remote worlds, we have the clear and bold statement that every Star Wars fan, from novice to diehard, can comprehend. The Force is with the galaxy. Star Wars is inherently warlike, but all war must come from a time of peace. Otherwise, it would just be a continuation of war. With the High Republic being, quote, a peaceful union of like-minded worlds, it establishes a point of departure for conflict. As Star Wars is, in part, about conflict and war is about opposition, and therefore opposing sides, there are always opposing groups in Star Wars. Rebels in the Empire, the Republic and the Separatists, the Resistance and the First Order, and the Jedi and the Sith. This paragraph establishes one half of the conflict grouping. Because Star Wars is inherently warlike, then we can ask certain questions when we read this opening crawl. The Republic is mentioned as being like-minded. This trait cuts both ways. On the one hand, having a peaceful union of like-minded worlds could demonstrate the strength and power of the Republic. The remainder of the sentence certainly makes it seem like being like-minded on a galactic scale is a good thing. Yet, such widespread like-mindedness might also be a weakness that is exploitable in conflict. Like-mindedness might imply a lack of healthy opposition and streams of new ideas. We know this very same republic will devolve into corruption and eventually into fascism. And so, while a peaceful union of like-minded worlds might be a goal of a galactic democracy, it is also the first crucial step to galactic fascism. So, this paragraph introduces the political aspect of Star Wars, wherein the prequels show a corrupted and eroding republic where democracy leads to powerful interest groups, division, and the obvious fact that, while having its idealists, the government is failing a large portion of those being governed. This paragraph instead claims this form of government is functioning how it was intended. There is also real energy in this High Republic, as voices are being heard and consensus is valued. There is ambition, culture, inclusion, and the great works. And therefore the High Republic era is a time of great construction, expansion, and inclusion. But it is exactly this ambition, construction, and expansion that leads these like-minded peoples into unknown areas, where there are not like-minded peoples, and therefore conflict. At the head of this High Republic is the visionary chancellor who lives in the elegant city world. The last visionary chancellor was a great mastermind that preached the value of democracy by subverting it to gain power for himself, and Coruscant was known among fans for its gritty and dangerous lower levels. These lower levels symbolize that underlying corruption. But at least at this point in the introduction, the High Republic really is at the height of its power and strength. In the third paragraph, the opposition group to the Republic is introduced. This opposing group is in opposition both in terms of physical space and in terms of safety, viewpoints, and ways of life. The Republic is compared to a star or source of light, as it is from the bright center of the core that people migrate outwards to the different rims. People migrate where opportunity is greatest, and if people migrate outward to the outer rim, then that implies that resources and opportunities have already begun to dwindle in the core. For why else would people leave their homes, cultures, and comfort spaces to brave the dangerous elements of the unknown, if not for opportunity? And this real fact is directly mentioned in this paragraph. That opportunity is not simply in resources. The outer rim is also a place for those who are not as like-minded as those in the core and at the capital. So, even at the height of the High Republic, where democratic values are honestly celebrated, there is an exodus of opposing views towards the fringes of galactic society. This exodus is an early hint at the book's immediate danger in ideology, the Nile. Tied closely to that immediate danger of the Nile is the danger of hyperspace lanes, which play a crucial role in the story. Finally, quote, predators of every type is a nice piece of foreshadowing. The Nile, obviously, are the immediate reference, but there are also those from Iradu and Marsharian Row. Chancellor Soule's pledge is interesting. Why pledge to bring the Outer Rim into the Republic? Expansionism has a dark side to it, and it seems like Soule, who was heralded and praised throughout both the publisher's summary and this opening crawl, may have some other agenda. The defining characteristic of Chancellor Soule in this paragraph is ambition. While her ambitions are given in a rather positive light, as outreach programs and humanitarian efforts, longtime Star Wars fans might detect a similarity with another Chancellor. It is at least noteworthy that Chancellor Soule is also accompanied by her Targon, who are closely bonded and loyal to her in a way that no other beings are. Indeed, her page in Wikipedia claims, quote, they acted as bodyguards as well as companions, and were said to have never left her side, so often spoke to them as she verbally thought through her ideas or plans. That her Targons are like the angels and devils that sit upon our shoulders seems an obvious implication. Starlight Beacon, another ongoing plot point, is a corresponding point for the internal politics of the Jedi. Just as the Republic are expanding out into the unknown of the Outer Rim, so too are the Jedi. And while the seats of political power in the Republic and the Jedi are located on Coruscant, the Jedi have expanded their influence to outposts. But those scattered outposts will soon be centralized at Starlight Beacon, perhaps foreshadowing the centralization of power of both the Republic and the Jedi on Coruscant in the prequels. The Jedi are finally mentioned in this opening crawl, but only in conjunction with the brief explanation of the Force. Therefore, the Jedi work closely both with the Force and the Republic. But it is not necessarily the case that the Republic, too, works closely with the Force. But there is a subtle difference between the expansionism of the Jedi and the expansionism of the Republic. Whereas the expansionism of the Republic is political, the Jedi's expansionism is humanitarian. Both want to bring their respective light, that of democracy and of virtue, to the darkness of the unknown, but their motivations could be very different for doing so. For there is no reason why a democracy must be virtuous, or virtue must be democratic. Life on any frontier is a place of excitement and adventure, of danger, resource, and opportunity. The Jedi at these expansion outposts operate independently and without direct assistance from the Jedi Council, This fact shows the difference between the power dynamics within the Order. It hints at more independent thinking and contrasts nicely with the prequel-era Jedi. While the Jedi still function as masters, knights, and Padawans, the Jedi of the High Republic are less subservient to the dictates of the Council on Coruscant. As light bearers in the darkness, the Jedi are deterrents to evil, but deterrents must be able to function and enforce whatever power they represent. Otherwise, they fail as deterrents. And so, as evil rises to meet the Jedi must show the power they have, or fail as deterrents and peacekeepers. This simple and powerful sentence is just as ambiguous as the opening sentence of the opening crawl. It could mean that the Jedi are so powerful that they simply overpower any opposition. But it could also mean that the state of the galaxy, or at least the High Republic, in their like-mindedness is such that no one disagrees with the Jedi. So, the Jedi would also be subject to the same weaknesses and pitfalls of their political parallel in such like-mindedness. Such a lack of disagreement could explain the dogmatism of the Jedi in the prequel era. Again, this ominous sentence is ambiguous. It might mean that in terms of power, there are people who will always want to wrestle that power away from the Jedi and the Republic they protect. But it might also mean that the war is not necessarily on a plot plane, but on the plane of ideology. For the Jedi, for all their light and virtue, for all their peace and their force powers, are still an ideology. And as the cinematic episodes teach us, the only way to end an ideology is with an ideology. Thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. Please drop this video a like if you think it deserves it, and comment if you would like to add your thoughts. Also, check out any of my other videos in this playlist, or any of my other videos if you would like. Until next time, my friends, stay on target, and may the Force be with you.